Welcome to HealthData Talks, where industry experts offer bite-sized tips and trends for managing legacy data.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Erik Johnson, the Vice President of Marketing here at Harmony Healthcare IT, and I am joined today by Brian Liddell, our Chief Financial Officer at Harmony Healthcare IT. Thanks for being here, Brian.
I appreciate you having me and taking the time to discuss.
Brian, do you mind just providing a brief background and introduction for everybody joining us today?
Yeah, sure. And again, I appreciate you guys having me and the invite to spend some time today. I've been at the company for, it'll actually be 20 years in April of this upcoming year. And I've really done everything from the initial plannings of the business and the market research to find the need, for our product lines, to the financial and the budgeting and everything that really surrounds this business. So I've been very deep with customers, again, from proof of concept to what we offer today and deliver today. And I look forward to, again, continuing those conversations with everyone to really find out what the market needs from us as far as data preservation, data utilization, and things like that surrounding healthcare data. And then where we can take this business in the future and where the future needs are going to be, because we want to be a few years ahead of really where customers are going to be need to take this data and where it can be utilized and everything, from AI to pop health to, just archiving and making sure that everything is preserved, is really where I want to take it. So again, 20 years here, couldn't be prouder of the company and the success that we've had and the products that we've brought to market thus far and look forward to the future.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. Certainly in the 20 years that you've been selling into healthcare and providing solutions into healthcare, you've seen a lot of changes in that time. So yes, as we start to kind of dive in here and maybe talk a little bit about the basics, really as we start to think about the challenges that health systems face today, lots of pressures from a resource perspective, financial pressures, security pressures. Maybe we can just start with some of the basics. And if you could just talk a little bit about how does data archiving legacy systems impact a healthcare's organization's bottom line? And maybe we can kind of just start there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a lot of conversations with both the CTOs, CIOs, and CFOs of some organizations, because that's where obviously the finance kind of hits the road there. But I'll go into really three facets of this. The first one would be the direct cost savings to customers, and one way that we go about helping customers with that is we look at specifically which systems they're still paying maintenance on and maintaining in that way, and saying, let's say it costs $1 million for this Cerner system to stay up and running. Maybe it's read-only mode, maybe it's still in their production system, but we really give them a direct ROI for the costs that they're currently incurring, and then what it's going to be moving forward once we would suck that data out, archive it, and make it available in our solution. So there's obviously those direct maintenance and hosting costs. On average, I would say the ROI, if you're still paying maintenance or if a customer's still paying maintenance on a specific system, it's usually in that 12 to 14 months. Again, it will vary depending on the system and how long a customer's been on it or a prospect's been on it. But usually that 12 to 14 months is where we fall in the ROI. So we're really, in basically one budget cycle, presenting a direct ROI for, as far as cash considerations or budget considerations for those healthcare organizations. The second one is increased productivity and efficiencies for the healthcare employees or the employees that are at these health systems. Somebody who might be in an HIM department where if they would get a legal or an insurance request for a patient's records or historical records there, it could take them a day or more to search through all the disparate systems, to find the logins for these systems, to make sure that this customer or this patient's data wasn't in multiple systems, prior to archiving all these systems with us. Now at the flip of a button, they can type in, let's say, John Smith's records. It will bring up every system that we've archived, all of those records into one format for them. They can pick out of our templates, whether it's a legal inquiry, insurance inquiry. It will automatically filter the data that is needed for those inquiries. And then probably the best thing is it's put in a really user-friendly format that can be sent to the requesting party in a very easy, secure mode, that they're not giving or disseminating a bunch of information that A, these people aren't asking for, but B, they shouldn't be disseminating, and this person doesn't have any right to viewing that information. So the Health Data Archive really helps employees become more streamlined and more efficient, especially in that HIM department. And then even going further, the release of information processes, we do offer record release as a product line. But really it's our core functionality is really making that available, that data available for these record release folks, so that they can fulfill those requests, so that they can have a direct ROI on their own time, and not necessarily to cut staff or cut costs there, but to make the people more efficient in their jobs, is really what we're looking to do. But again, that's going to in the long run help the healthcare systems save money by having their employees be more efficient, everywhere from the HIM departments to the finance departments to obviously the clinical workers that are having direct access to these records via single sign-on in their go-forward solution there. And then number 3, provide the improved security and risk reduction. If you've got, for a large health system, hundreds of different EHRs, financial HR systems, sitting around, whether they're online or offline, whether they're hosted or on-prem, there's a lot of risk for a breach in those systems, or for that PHI to be sent somewhere where it doesn't need to be, or for the loss of that PHI. Let's say it's on an old server and there's a water leak, or the power supply goes bad, or the hard drive goes bad. If it wasn't properly backed up or anything like that, those systems could have the loss of that information, and again, that's vital for obviously legal requests and requirements, but also just for the point of care for those folks to always have their complete medical records. So there's security, there's risks. We're taking all of that and even a lot of things. If you're looking at a direct cost reflection in the security, cyber, E&O, those insurances, they can be brought down if the risk profile is less from having a bunch of systems separated and out there in the ether.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. You work with a lot of CFOs on a daily basis, right? And have done so for quite a long time. I'm curious, for everything that you just talked about in terms of the benefits for an archiving solution, maybe talk a little bit about how that applies to large and small health systems, right? Or does it? And if so, maybe do you have some examples of some customers where we've had some success, right? And can talk about that in a little bit more detail.
Sure. Yeah, and it does, run the continuum of sizes of organizations. We work with one doc, private physician practices, and then we work with some of the largest payers and healthcare organizations in the country and the world, really. But a few that come to mind, for me, as far as a large health system would be Indiana University Health, and they were one of our first, we'll just say, enterprise size customers, and we've archived 100+ systems for them. And they've saved just in annual maintenance costs, $3 to $4 million a year with our solution, and we're about 1/10 of that cost on an ongoing basis. So not only do they have those direct costs of about 90%, they still have access to that data, but they have access to that data in a more user-friendly format as well. If you're not accustomed to using, old systems or you've been trained on Epic or Cerner or Meditech, and this old system is either, Allscripts or eClinical or some boutique system. You have to know how to get to all the information that you're looking to get to in these old systems as well. If you put it in the Health Data Archiver, it's going to look the same or similar, whether it was coming from a Meditech or a Cerner or an Epic or eClinical or whatever those systems might be. It's in that one user-friendly format that basically is as easy to get to the information as a simple search, in our side there. When you look at a small to medium-sized practice, maybe where there's 1 to 5 physicians, obviously the dollar amounts aren't going to be as great, but the risk is still there, and it might even be greater because the smaller organizations don't have the security profile set up. They don't have the they don't have the need for those IT setups and those security setups. So having our solution in there is really a low cost way, relatively speaking, to providing security, to de-risking that protected healthcare information, because they're held to the same standard as, the largest healthcare organizations in the world are held to, as far as laws and legalities around that protected healthcare information. So our solution set is really a great way for them to de-risk, for them to provide ROI, to their physicians if it's more than a one physician practice, and to really have a complete solution around those historical records should they, have that need from us.
Excellent, thank you. You touched on ROI, right? And we all know today, more than ever, it's extremely important that as hospitals are evaluating the costs associated with software and services, the importance of having an understanding of what that ROI looks like, so that they can make a sound decision on behalf of their institution is more important than ever. What do we do at Harmony today to help these organizations understand what that ROI looks like, and how do you get involved in terms of working through that process? Can you kind of walk through what we do and what that looks like, and at what point in a process do we want to engage with them, and is it appropriate to talk about ROI, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think every organization is looking to save money or cut costs where appropriately, or probably not even cut costs, but really become more efficient on where their spends are, get more for their spends. And we really take a consultative approach, on the sales and sales engineering side. And, it can happen as early as, the first couple calls to, once we do basically a sales engineering call on what systems they're looking to archive and might need data extracted from, et cetera. It can happen anywhere in the process. I like to do it, or I'd like to suggest that we do it earlier than later, because then it allows us to kind of prioritize which systems they should be archiving first. Let's say you're a large organization, you've got 50 legacy systems that are sitting, whether it's in your server, your server room, or if they're hosted or whatever it is, but you've got 50 systems, but you're only paying maintenance on 25 of those. Well, those are the 25 that we're going to want to prioritize, unless there's some security concern, with the other 25 there. So the earlier we can get that information, the better. And one thing that we don't do is we don't price it based on what somebody's paying in maintenance. So we're going to give an honest level of effort of what it is. So we want to be a partner with our healthcare organizations that we're working with to get them the best ROI for their time and their money. And that enables us to really look at this and say, hey, we can even give you, if you've got 10 eClinical Work systems, we'll give you a level of effort before you even give us what you're paying in maintenance, so that there's no conflict of interest there, and it truly is a consultative arrangement with the prospect. And I think that's the best way to go about this, because again, as I said, unless there's a direct security concern, maybe it went out, Microsoft stopped supporting it, or Oracle stopped supporting it, or something like that, where it needs to be prioritized. I would always tell an organization, let's prioritize where your monies are being spent right now. And that's the best way that we're going to give you ROI directly on those dollars. And we do even do things where we won't pay or have any payments due until they're off maintenance or hosting from their old system or legacy system that we're going to be archived. So we truly want to be a partner. We truly want to take a consultative approach to the sales process, and we want to make sure that we're not selling somebody a solution that's a fit for one organization but not a fit for the other organization. We want to be a platform that allows people to build off of our our suite of services and softwares that we do offer.
So, Brian, would it be fair to say that if you believe that you have a need for an archiving solution, would it be fair to say that they could go ahead and reach out to us here at Harmony and have that initial consultative call, right? So that we'd be willing to hop on a call with them essentially really at any time and walk them through an ROI, even if they're looking at a point where they're just simply at an exploratory process, and we'd be willing to support them in that kind of conversation.
100%. Again, this doesn't cost them anything up front. Give us a call. We've archived or we've done data extracts from 600 plus different systems in our history. So no portfolio has ever been, too big or too small for us, because we basically hit everything from a small boutique system that was, that maybe you can't even find the original developers of it, to obviously Epic and Cerner and the largest systems in the world. So we're happy to take on that full, suite of systems or inventory of systems that somebody might have. And again, we'll do all the upfront labor and sales engineering and looking at that, prior to any, deal being signed or anything like that. All we do is we put an NDA, we put a BAA in place and make sure that everybody's protected as far as, legalities and obviously security wise. But then we can really dig in and really say, what can we do to help your organization succeed financially and, risk and compliance wise as far as that data, not to mention obviously the clinical aspects of all this.
Excellent. All right, hitting pause for a second, Brian. On our script here, I think you answered pretty much everything here, and I was just going to close up right here. I think it's a strong close. I'm just curious to see if you feel like you want to go into any more deeper level talking points around. I felt like you answered them. And
yeah, I don't think so. I was actually looking ahead at the next question, and I was already, I was like, I would be restating that.
You would be. Yeah. I looked at these and I'm like,
combined those two into this one.
Yeah, no, I think it's strong. And we left with, hey, if I have a need, would we be help? Reach out, right? You answered that. So if you're okay with this, I'm just going to move into wrapping this up. And yeah. I think it's a really nice, I think when it's edited down, it'll be a really nice, concise, 10, 12 minute podcast. It just kind of hits the impactful points. So
yeah. No, I think that works for me.
Okay, sounds good. Let me close it out here and then we'll turn it back over to you, Kaylin. All right. Well, thanks, Brian, for joining us today. Certainly appreciate your time. Looking forward to having you back on our next episode of HealthData Talks. To everybody that listened, thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you. Please tune into our next episode of HealthData Talks. We'll certainly continue to cover all aspects associated with lifecycle data management. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Great. Thank you.
That's it for this session of HealthData Talks. Check out helpful resources at harmonyhit.com and follow us in your favorite podcast app to catch future episodes. We'll see you next time.